Okay, everyone, you know who I am. I'm Mr. Bryce, and we are doing this practice test. We're going to do it quick and dirty. So the function k of x equals 3x squared plus 2x minus 10. And we want to know what the domain using those numbers. Don't forget the 8. Okay? The easiest way to do it is to type it into the y equals on your calculator. And we have 3x squared plus 2x minus 10 in the y equals. And then we look at the table. I only care about -4, -2, 5, and 8. Those are the x. These are the y's. Okay, so here we have it. I put it into the y equals, and I hit second table. I take a look at what the answers are. For -4, it is race 30. For -2, it is -2. And for 5, it is 75. And for 8, I think it is 198. Put it in a brace. Now, next question. The function f of x is defined by the graph below. What is the value of the function at -1? I look here at -1. Hang on a second. Okay, so let's try this again. F of -1, I go over to -1, and I find out that it, go for a pen. I find out that it's down 1, 2, 3, so that answer is -3. Now the next one, function value at 1, I go over 1. Well, that time I have to go up 1 to the curve, up 1 to the curve. Next, last one is 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, it's up 1 to the curve. State the domain and range. So the big thing with the domain, x and y. Domain is the x value. So how far left did I go? 1, 2, 3, 4. So domain starts at -4. And how far to the right did I go from the origin? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, Mr. Bryce. I'm just so used to doing that. It is a bracket because those are closed points here. The range are the y values. So you go to the lowest y and we go to the highest y. So the lowest y, we're going down 1, 2, 3 to the line. So it starts at -3. The highest y, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We go up 5. If you have any questions, make sure you ask me in class before the test. Number 3, draw the diagram of this specific function. So all the x's go on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Okay. Now you notice that the 2, the answer is 1. The 3, the answer is 5. The 4, the answer is 6. Notice it's a ray. It only has one arrow on it. Okay. Make up your own diagram that's not a function. There's an easy one. Hey, give me a number. Really? You wanted to pick 17? Okay. 17 goes to 8 and goes to 256, you said? Okay, 256. Every x can only have one y for it to be a function. Every x can only have one y for it to be a function. And it's going to two different y's. on the back. So we have a function and it's on the graph. Sketch. Okay, there were a couple of you last year that forgot to do the sketch. So sketch the inverse because we see h to the negative 1. What we do is we write down the values of each one of these points. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. Sorry. Trying to make this as fast as possible for you. So we have negative 5 and it goes down 1, 2, 3, 4. That's negative 4. The next point is negative 4, negative 3. The next point is negative 1, negative 2. And that point, the last point right there, sorry. Yeah, negative 1, negative 2. And that point is 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 1. Now, it says graph the inverse, and it is h of x. H inverse of x. So we're going to do the table over here. All I do is I take the x's, write them down as y's. Negative 5, negative 4, negative 1, and 4. Then I take these, the y's, as the answer. Negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1. Now, I have to graph them. Quickly graph them. Negative 4, negative 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Negative 3, negative 4. Negative 2, negative 1. Negative 1, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Smoothly. You see how that's a nice curve in the beginning? So you smoothly connect them, stop, terminate. Okay, those don't have arrows, so this one isn't going to have any arrows. The domain and range of the original function. Write the domain of the original function. We have the table written down here. We already said the domain is the x values. The domain is the x values, but don't write them down because it's a curve, all the fractions, all the decimals between it. So the smallest one is negative 5. The biggest one is 4. Since they're filled in, they're in brackets. The range. Here we have the range. Let me pick a different color. Let's go with blue. Here's the range. The smallest one is negative 4. The largest one is negative 1. Put it in brackets. Now, like I said in class, if you got these wrong, you should get these right because you just write whatever you wrote down there here. And you just write down whatever you wrote down there. That tells me that you know that inverses change the domain and range. And that's what we're testing for. Do you know that the inverses just change the domain and range? Is this table a function? I'm looking at the x's. Do any of them repeat? No, nothing repeats. I don't have to look at the y's. None of them repeat. So it has to be a function because for every x, there only exists one y. X only has one partner there because there's only one x. Does it have an inverse? Yeah. Every function has an inverse, but we don't know if the inverse is a function. So when you're talking about inverses here, don't get dizzy. When you're talking about inverses here, we're going to look at the y's. We're going to look at the g of x's. Just like before, do these numbers repeat? In this case, they do not repeat. The y's do not repeat, which are the new x's. So they don't repeat. So the answer is yes, because for every one in this line, there is only one answer there. So what isn't a function? What inverse isn't a function? Well, there it is. Okay. This one passes, it fails the horizontal line test. It passes the vertical line test. So it's a function, but it fails the horizontal line test. So that's not a function. And we could write down those points, but we're not going to write down those points right now. Okay. Read carefully. What is the value of the inverse of 7? So here we go. I am going to look at 7. Since I'm talking about the inverse, I'm looking at that 7. The value is 0. Since I'm talking about the inverse right there, I look at the y's, and the answer is 0. For 4, I look at this 4, since I'm talking about the inverse, and it is 6. And the last one says, what's the inverse of -10? So I'm looking at the y values, and here we have the y values. It goes to 7, and there it is. Remember, if you have any questions, ask us in class before the test. Next page. Here we have some points. What's the domain? Domain, X. Range is Y. Domain is X, range is Y, alphabetical order. Domain is X, range is Y, alphabetical order. Domain, range, X, Y. I'm just going to look at the X's, 2, 8, 15. So 2, 8, and 15. If the points are points within a function, what's the domain? Close it. The range of the inverse of the function. O of the inverse of the function. 2 ways to do it. You know the answer, you write it down. The other way, remember the inverse says switch X and Y. So I'm going to write down the points. 6, 2, 3, 8, 21, 15. Wait a minute. Those aren't the points. Yes, because I switched the X's and Y's. Those are the points for the inverse. Then I think range are the Y values. Range are the Y values. 2, 8, 15. Oh, smackerdoodle. I told you there were 2 ways to do it. The second way is the domain is the new range when you talk about inverse functions. The domain is the new range. How about that? Sneaky. Okay, notice there's no inverse here. This is just the flat value of -4. -1, -2, -3, -4. I go up 1, 2, 3. It's 3 high. See how I showed my work? The function value of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I go down 1, 2, 3, 4 to the curve. I went down 4 to the curve. And now we have to pay attention because that has an inverse. When we're talking about inverses, we're talking about the y values. That's a y in there from the graph. So the y is 9. The y is 9. That's the answer. What's the question? Oh, how about that? 9, 9. And that sucks as a question. So why don't we do inverse of -1? Okay, sorry, inverse of -5. Get a different color here, orange. -5. I'm looking at the y values. I'm looking at the y values. Where is that? Right here. It's up 1, up 2, up 3, up 4, up 5. So wait a minute. What am I doing here? I'm going to have to erase this and take a look at it because I thought it was, there we go. Yes, so there it is. Just had to erase some stuff. It is at 6. Sorry. I had to look at that. What is the x value? The x value is 6 right there. So that's 6. Questions, ask us in class. Oh, that's the end of it. So that was a fast thing. I'm going to pause the recording. Remember, if you have any questions, ask. Oh, my goodness. I forgot to tell you the bonus question for watching this. What's the bonus question for watching all of this? Is the word turbo. Turbo spelled with a B. There you go. That's the bonus question. What do you mean bonus question? I'm going to say, write down the answer to the bonus question, and it is Turbo.